Welcome back to the channel. This is the Action Figure Grader, and today we're going to look at recent sales on eBay for vintage mint on card Star Wars action figures. Lots of graded and ungraded MOCs that have sold here recently across a different variety of condition, different lines. We got Tri-Logos, ESB, 20 backs. I don't think we have any 12 backs in this batch, but pretty decent lot here all the way through to the Glasslight Brazilian mint on cards. So let's take a closer look. This seller had a couple of very nice 20 backs that sold, and it's hard to judge how they would grade. I would guess that both of these were kind of in the 75-80 range. The 20 back Princess Leia with the Boba Fett offer, this one did have a little ding on the blister, but very clean overall. And it was at auction, sold for $9.79, which I thought was a pretty decent deal. You can see a little ding there on the top of the blister, right-hand side. The figure also had a little bit of yellowing going on, which is common for Leia on these early card backs. You got to be careful on that. But fully sealed, pretty nice example. And $9.79 took that home. Same seller also had a 20 back for Luke Skywalker Farm Boy, and this one was in a little bit better shape. It appeared to me. Again, clear blister. Blister looked to be in really great shape. Punched example, very faint veins on it, but overall very clean. And that one sold for $12.47 in an auction. 37 bids on that one, so pretty good action. I think this one's got a decent chance at an 85, or excuse me, at an 80 overall. And that looks like, let's see if this is a Hong Kong or a Taiwan. Yeah, Hong Kong. So that's a pretty clean looking blister there. I think that this one probably gets like a 75 for the card score because of the faint crease at the top of the card right there that you can see, as well as above the hang tab. Probably a 75 for the card score, but an 80 or 85 for the figure and blister score. But $12.47 again took that home. This seller had a pretty rough looking 21 back R5D4. You can see the heavy creasing on that. $3.55. It was still unpunched. Some sticker damage there, but you know, if you're looking for a budget friendly example, there you go. And he also did have a Tri-Logo for R5D4. Blister was in pretty decent shape. It looked like it had a little pinch there in the upper right hand corner. That one sold for $3.32. And we've seen some higher grade examples for the Tri-Logo R5D4 go pretty pricey. CIB, I think, had an 80 or 85 that sold for big money. I was really shocked by. But again, those, you know, these two were more budget friendly examples, and, you know, sub 350, 355. That's not a terrible deal there. Princess Leia Organa in the Bespin gown. This is one that's been asked about privately by a few folks. They're looking to add one, like an early 31, 32 back. This one was a 32B, it looks like. And it was not perfect, obviously. It had a little bit of creasing at the top of the card, some sticker damage, things like that. This is probably a good example of, don't need to grade it, but just want to put it in a sliding acrylic case and check off a box. About as budget-friendly as you get at about $300. For higher grade examples for Leia Organa, I mean, I've seen them go as high as about $1,100. I would personally try to aim for a high grade example on a 31 or 32 back, clear blister, you know, in really good shape, 80 plus range in terms of grade quality. Try to aim for that $700 to $900 range, whether they're graded or ungraded. But this one gives you a good example of a budget friendly $300. This one maybe surprised me a little bit on the upper end, but it was clear blister. This is the 45 back Leia in her Hoth outfit, and I feel like this is one that usually does yellow. This one was clear blister, very clean, and it was a punched example, but I think it grades probably at about an 80, maybe an 80 plus grade. But usually it's weird. So for some characters on the 45 back, I feel like they yellow very frequently, and Leia Organa is one of those. The Cloud Car palette is another one that for some reason those blisters tend to yellow pretty heavily. But this one was a very clean example that sold at auction, $752 on that one. So that gives you an idea of where that one goes. I've seen some graded, slightly yellowed 45 back layout Organas go in about this same price point. So just depends on if you can live with yellowing or not, but that gives you an idea there. The C-3PO on the removable limbs, I think this is the debut card, which is the 47 back 4-LOM offer. This was unpunched, but obviously yellowing to the blister, which does happen again with some 47 backs. The C-3PO is a good example. The Bossk, the Dengar, if you can even find it at all, mint on card. We just saw the Bossk and the Dengar on the 47 back that were very high grade that sold over at the Hakes Jeff Jacob Part 1 auction that were, big numbers, big numbers for clear blisters. But this one was yellowed and it still sold at $402 because it is the debut card. It's a little tougher to find this C-3PO removable limbs. We just talked about the 45 back Canadian removable limb C-3PO. That was not available on the US card to my knowledge. It was just the 47 back is the debut card for the US card backs, but that one sold for big money as well despite a yellow blister. So just keep an eye out there if you're looking for that one. That gives you a price target to aim for if you can live with the yellowing to the blister. This I thought was a pretty good deal. This was the 48 back C IG-88 Revenge of the Jedi, unpunched, obviously not perfect. It was graded AFA 75, 275 subscore, so that kept the price down a little bit in an auction. But clear blister, pretty nice example, really, for $480. That's a tough card back character combination to find. Really, all of the bounty hunters on the 48 back B or C are tough to get. And you can ask Brett on FET, who's a YouTuber and a buddy of mine, about that. He's trying to get all the bounty hunters on the 48 back B or C, and it's tough to track the bounty hunters down on that particular card back. So that one sold for $480, and there was another one. It was a 48 back B or C. I didn't include it in this list, but it was a Zuckuss on the 48 B or C that was very high grade. It was an 80 or 80 plus that sold for $850, somewhere in that ballpark. So that was a recent sale that I meant to include in this lot of items that we're covering, but I forgot about it. Next up, another 48 back C. This is, I thought, a really great deal for the FX7. This is a seller over in the UK. So again, some of his items, or most of his items now, don't show up on US eBay for some reason. I bought from this seller before, but I found this on eBay UK, and it was a great deal. AFA 85 for FX7, unpunched, 285 subscores. That's a tough one to track down, and that one sold for 513 pounds, which is $640 US. I guarantee you could probably add 25 to 30% to that sales price if it had been listed in the US. So just one of those weird things where some of these items are not showing up. And he had a bunch of gems, or she, I don't know if it's a he or she, I think it's a male. But look at this one. This one was an AFA 80 Palitoy AT-AT driver, clear blister, unpunched. This is not a Toy Tony, okay? This is a legit Palitoy, 41 back C, AFA 80. That one is unpunched, no price sticker. That one sold for big money, as you'd expect. You can make an argument that even this sales price is low relative to some that I've seen sell on Facebook. Nicholas Dykes, I believe his name is. He's a Palitoy specialist, and he's always able to acquire very high-grade ESB Palitoys, 12 backs, 20 backs, and gets those graded and sells them on Facebook on his own sales page. And usually the prices are significantly higher. I mean, they're above or at market value. He gets top dollar for his because they're just so difficult to find. And I would argue that this one, even on Facebook, probably could have been a little bit more money. It sold for 942 pounds, which is 1,176 US dollars. You know, typically I was thinking like closer to $1,500 for this. So very good deal on an AT-AT driver on the ESB Palitoy card back. This same seller again also had an AFA 80 plus archival case clear blister unpunched squid head. This was a 77 back A. This is not the made in Mexico version. This is just the straight US version. Someone was watching one of these and asked me where I thought it would go. I was thinking max $300, so I was pretty close on my estimate that I gave him. It sold for 235 pounds, which is $293 US. So I was off by $7 if you're watching. He had asked me privately before this auction ended, so I was pretty close on that for an AFA 80 Plus clear blister 77 back A squid head. Some tri-logos that this same seller had. These were beauties. This was a UKG 85 Biker Scout punched example. That one sold for a pretty fair price, I feel like. 452 pounds, 564 US. I bought an AFA 85 for this particular Biker Scout on the tri-logo. I think I paid $600 or $650 for mine, and that was a couple years ago. So this one was a pretty good deal for a UKG 85%. This also was a very fair deal, not a steal by any means, but this is the Stormtrooper on the tri-logo. This was an AFA 85 as well, and it had the etched edges to the blister, which was kind of notable for certain variants of the tri-logos. Beautiful AFA 85. That one sold in an auction for 673 pounds, which is $840 US. That's, right in line with market. I don't remember what I paid. I don't think I paid that much, but mine's only an AFA 80. And it was on the lower end of an 80. This one was a true 85. Absolutely stunning condition. Worth every penny. Here was a low-grade yak face that sold over here in the U.S. This one was an AFA 50 yak face. No weapon packed in on that one. And you can see how rough the card is, how rough the blister is. It had 250 subscores for the card and blister. Obviously not the greatest shape, but it still sold for $17.81, which is kind of a shocker there. For reference, I paid around $2,500 for my AFA yellowed 80. Mine has the smaller blister, Miss Blister type, that was probably made in the Meccano factory as it was going out of business. It's very difficult to get much information on mine because it's got kind of a weird label from AFA. It's labeled PBP blister, but everyone I've talked to who are tri-logo experts says it's most likely a miscard blister, meaning that, the Palitoy factory apparently directed the Meccano factory to just get the stuff out, get it all out, match everything up as soon as you can, and they probably took a different blister style and packed my yak face on a smaller blister, and it did yellow, very slightly, but it is yellowed slightly. This one, AFA 50, still sold for $17.81, big number there. Here was another one from that same seller in the UK. This was an AFA 80 Tebow punched example. That one sold for a pretty decent price, 331 pounds, which is $413 US. That's kind of at the upper end for an AFA 80 for Tebow, but a very nice example. Great card image on that, by the way. I always love Tebow on the tri-logo. Just a really cool image there. Next up, we had a Mint and Seal Box Jabba the Hutt action playset. Not perfect by any means. You can see the massive crease going on the box, but even despite that, still sold in an auction for $373. Here was an interesting buy it now. Pretty high grade. This one sold for $1,310 US. This one was a 77 back A, very slightly yellowed blister Boba Fett with the offer sticker for the Boba Fett coin. This one was the made in Taiwan Boba Fett as well, but very clean, unpunched example with a price sticker. I think you could probably net an 80 grade on this one if you sent it in to be graded. Very, very clean. It probably gets a 75 for the card score just because of the faint sticker residue and some very faint spider veinings to the right of the Return of the Jedi logo. But the blister was super clean. The figure obviously was super clean. I think it gets 75, 80, 85 for the subscores, and probably gets an 80 overall, would be my guess. It's very, very clean. 1309 on that one, 1310 on that. That's a pretty fair deal in a buy it now situation. Some Star Wars Ewoks, both of these are made in Mexico. So these were Lily Letty's, the Logray and the Wicket from the Ewoks line were made in the Mexican Lily Letty factory. So this was only a CAS 70 plus, sold for $255. Pretty decent deal there. And then the Wicket is one that is always pretty pricey. I think I might have had this in a what to buy video, or I know I sent this out to my Patreon supporters, but it did have some sticker residue from where they tried to peel off the KB Toys price sticker. Unpunched example, very nice overall. And it's just a shame they tried to pull off that sticker. That one's still sold for $476. Very fair price. Just what for what the Wicket figure goes for, ungraded, loose complete, off the card. I thought that was a very fair price at $476. Next up, we've got some Power of the Force that sold either at auction or I think most of these are at auction. This seller had some very nice high-grade examples. The Jawa was probably the lowest grade of the bunch, but it was still pretty clean. Unpunched, light scuffing by the logo on the front of the card. $330 on that one. But same seller had some very high grade last 17 Power of the Force. This Imperial Gunner had moderate yellowing, moderate to light yellowing to the blister, but unpunched. I think this one grades very high, and the price reflected that. That one sold for $551. They also had the Han Solo in Carbonite. That was super clean. That one sold for $676. Big number there, but I think this one's got an outside chance. This one and the Imperial Gunner have outside chance at an 85 grade. They were very, very clean. And then finally, I don't know if I covered this or not. I don't feel like I did. Maybe I did, so it might be a repeat from a different Mint on Card market update. Interesting sale here. The figure had a lot of scuffing on the sticker. And I can't tell if this is a reseal or not. There was definitely some lipping or some blister pull on the upper left-hand corner. But it was advertised as factory sealed, but it was just interesting because the sticker on this one had a lot of scuffing. And maybe it's just because it's, it's rattling around inside the blister. I don't know. But this is that Glasslight Brazilian Droids R2-D2, and that one sold in an auction for $1275. Probably grades out at about a 75 would be my guess, maybe a 70. I don't know. You can see there on the left hand side of the blister where it's starting to peel just a little bit, so that'll probably hold the grade back because of that. But I just wanted to show it because it was an interesting sale. Again, I don't know if this one was resealed or not. It's tough to tell on that one. But it's just such a rare card back that I don't think you need to really grade it. This is probably about as cheap as you're going to get for a Mint on Card R2 Droids Glasslight. If it's slightly peeling or not, just put it in an acrylic case and call it a day. But very, very cool card art on that one. I've always loved the Glasslight Brazilian card art. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to leave me a like, and I'll be back soon.